Good evening, Vande Matram, welcome all of you. So, on this glorious evening, this is the day of Visarjan. So, Durga Puja is over. We are going to discuss in brief on summarization of Savitri. We will start this evening the English version of discussion on the symbol done. So, we have already started discussing from Vijaya Dashmi. So, and today is the very next day, and this is the day of beginning for the English format of discussion on summarization of Savitri. So we know Savitri, the great, the legend and the symbol, the greatest English epic so far. These epics are concerned in English. This is the greatest one. This is the biggest one. It is covering around 24,000 lines. So just this day we are going to begin the gist. We'll just have a touch of the gist, the summarization of Savitri. Right now we are going to begin Savitri, the book 1, canto 1, the symbol done. This is a great beginning. Already we have seen it was the hour before the gods awake. That's what with this format we are better acquainted. This was the hour before the gods awake. So when this condition, this line is coming to the picture, and of course when we are trying to read, most of the people, it was the hour before the gods awake. So most of the readers or researchers or people who are actually pursuing their research work and all, they get confused how these gods became god and it became gods in plural. And awake is another term which has been used in the very first line. How the gods and these gods are awake means the opposite of is asleep. So it was before. What really it indicates that with that confusion, people keep moving here and there. This is a great confusion, great word, and we keep observing from almost. It is touching almost 100 years. The confusion continues, and of course the queries are there. People keep asking the questions. Now anyway, it was the hour. It was the hour before the gods and awake. These five parts, and so far these gods, the plural of the god, unique, the one and unique. So we can summarize and we can of course trace upon the gods who are in the who are actually the presiding deities of the supramental manifestation, who presides over the supramental manifestation, these gods. And of course when the term is coming awake, awake means that is opposite is asleep, but here awakening the from the state of self absorption and trance. In that situation, in that consequence, gods are there because the new creation yet to start. Everywhere you find fathomless zero occupied the world. Everywhere there is darkness, there is actually ambiguity. We can find the grayness, and everywhere the earth is covered with darkness, water like this. No creation yet, no light, no visible creatures, no formation of the man. So everything is there in a very unbalanced state, almost of course in standstill. So that position we can our this was the hour before the gods awake. That period actually it has been well sketched by the master Sri Aurobindo. We know Sri Aurobindo's this is magnum opus Savitri. It is unique. It is we can feel while reading, and of course while doing. Mother has quoted, "To read Savitri is to do my yoga." While we are going through the actually passages of the find with the passages of Savitri, when we keep reading, we find the touch of the supramental supermind. So supramental touch is there. There is a big flow. Of course, only the supramental flow can be seen flowing through the pages of Savitri, through the lines of Savitri, through the words of Savitri. This is Savitri. And mother quotes beautifully for the enlargement of your consciousness, for the opening of your psychic, and for the growth of the progress, of course, improvement of your English. Each and everybody should read 1 or 2 pages of Savitri every day. Here we are going to the great topic that is on Book 1, Canto 1, the symbol done. So it is the like this. It has been summarized. The hour of manifestation is not yet. Hour of manifestation is not yet. The gods who preside over and participate in the manifestation are still in rest. They are still resting. So, bearing the path of the divine manifestation, there is lies the immobile upon the bosom of the silence. Silence, immobile, lay stretched upon the immobile, lay stretched upon the just. I can remember Savitri. You can quote it a couple of lines. Something inscrutable darkness in her only temple of eternity. Huge, pervading mind of night alone across the path of the divine event. Almost one felt opaque, impenetrable. Like these terms you can find while reading Savitri in the very first page of Savitri. Bearing the path of divine manifestation, there lies immobile upon the bosom of silence, the mind of night. Very big page. Mind of night lies immobile upon the bosom of silence. Again, alone. Is in the stretch of timeless, the mind of night is huge and pervading. The mind of night, that big phrase, is huge and pervading. Again, in that blind musing of the night, one senses it where the profounds of the infinity without form, no name like this. It is impenetrable obscurity, great darkness, impenetrable obscurity everywhere. All is occupied by a great phase, again used fathomless zero. So things are obscure everywhere. You can find only fathomless zero occupied the world. There is darkness, great darkness, impenetrable. This mind of night, a power of the self that was once boundless and had subsequently fallen and awake between two nothingness of the void above and the void below. So in between, this mind is actually oscillating like a pendulum. It is stated there. It remembers the dark womb of nescience from which it had arisen. That is a great. It remembers the really the dark womb of nescience from which it had arisen and wishes to end itself in the void. That is the within two minds, two voids. It is actually there, turning away from the adventure of birth and call of the adventure of birth and the prospect of managing the journey following it. So it wants to remember actually from the womb from which really it came. Again, a dumb, unformed figure of the unknown, the inconscient is in the there is a stare. Again, it feels there is a stirring. We can feel as we find the stirring when we create. Actually, we get the butter from the milk. That rod is there. Just imagine here also same thing is coming inside the inscrutable darkness. There comes a stir. It goes on repeating endlessly the unconscious act. The act is unconscious, not yet conscious. Everything is under unconscious. Prolonging the mechanical wheel. This wheel is completely mechanical. Nothing has been conscious or unconscious mechanical wheel behind it, and acts in the cradle to the cosmic drowse of the ignorant force. Those very rhythms of slumber go to light up the suns in the universe and carry the lives of creatures in the unconscious swing. So there is a chance of formation, chance of new creation. There is a stirring. There is a feeling of the ignorant force, cosmic drowse of the ignorant force, whose rhythm of slumber goes to light the suns. So this is the position and this is the scenario we can find there. Suns in the universe and carry the lives of creatures in its unconscious swing. So in this immensitude of the still space, here where the stirring is going on, nothing is there. Actually, there is a chance of formation, chance of new creation. There is neither mind nor life nor soul. Nothing is there. Neither mind nor life nor soul. In this void of earth is spinning helplessly. Here, without mind, life, and soul, the earth is spinning helplessly. Something wished to be but knew not how to be. Something wished but knew not how to be. Lost once again in her mechanical dreams, wholly forgetful of her spirit and her goal. It is totally mechanical. There is a tire in the unconscious vast and the void above. Mind of night is between the two voids of void of above and void below. So there is a tire. There is somehow there is a chance of creation. In this enigmatic darkness, something stirs again. Sri Aurobindo uses there's something stirs. It can be some movement insistent of urge which wants to be but does not know how to be, wish to be but know not how to be. That awake ignorance in the inconscient. That awakes, teaches the ignorance from in the inconscient, who awakes. So in the inconscient there is an awakening of the ignorance. There is a pang, in the during the conception, mother who is going to give birth a child. There we can know the throw, the pang, there is a quiver, and old unfulfilled want, inert so far in the subconscious, raises of the head searching for the light of the old memories. Old memories it is used because initially it has seen the birth, there was creation, now itself it is nullified, there is nothing. So it wishes, it is in the subconscious, and the property of the subconscious, something that wishes, it is never wholly dead, it waits and sometimes it comes out. Here also, it is actually raises its head, searching for the light of old memories. It looks up as if there was survived in the depths of its knot, the entity from the buried past. Past is buried, some memories are there. It is looking up to find out the sequence, how this will be materialized. Resume its effort and struggle in another bleak round. So again, another thing is coming to the picture. The unformed consciousness yet to born, unformed, not yet formed, wishes for light and beg for knowing, sense to seek far away change. So it is there is a seeking for the light, wishes for light, of the unformed consciousness, and of course the sense to seek far away change. Then after this one, there is a longing arises, and night, the mother of all. Night, it has been described as the mother of all because only night, there is nothing, only darkness, grayness, obscurity, night. Who has been heedless so far, reminded the need to be fulfilled. Just imagine it has been used. This image has been used in by Sri Aurobindo here. The child, just imagine fingers touching the mother's cheek, reminding of her endless question things, of the touching the heedless mother, and of course reminding of her of the heedless mother, of the new, that something going to be done, remind a need to be fulfilled, something has to be done. Don't sleep on because your time is over. Now you have to get up, you have to be aware, and you have to go for the be prepared for the new creation for the next morning, like this. Same way, the night, the mother of all, has been heedless so far, is reminded of a need to be fulfilled, endless need in things. Imperceptibility, there breaks, there breaks a break in the dark. So deep darkness was there. Now itself it is found there is a break in the dark. A ray of light of life, a ray of light of life, actually it penetrates, starts appearing, and through the messenger of the beyond comes searching for a soul, desolate spirit that has forgotten the past of bliss. It has been forgotten. The bliss has been forgotten. The light has been forgotten. The memory is actually lost. In that time, a ray of light actually penetrates the intense darkness, because their creation, this darkness has to perish, it has to be renounced, it has to go. So how the night will be freed from the darkness night will go only with the penetration, of course, the adventure of the light. And somewhere here in the course a breach began, in which the ray of light of life, it starts penetrating, and there come searching for a soul, desolate spirit that has forgotten the past of bliss. entire past is forgotten, it tries to recall and remind. With the entry of that light, naturally this darkness will go, and universe creeps throughout the call for the adventure of joy, consciousness, and joy. So this with the arrival of light, there we can find the adventure of consciousness and joy, and it compels the reluctant night nature to resume life, to see and to feel. So with as long as there was a deep darkness was there, everything was okay, everything was sleeping. Now itself there was a break, a ray of light of life. It is penetrating, and with the penetration, there is actually there is an urge. Urge, there is of course one adventure of consciousness and joy, and there is of course a compulsion. Compels the reluctant night nature to resume life, to feel, to see. It is time, you can't sleep. You have to become aware. You have to come out. You have to be prepared for the new creation. As with the morning arrival of the morning, this inertia of the night actually it gets penetrated, it gets taken carried away, and there will be nothing in the darkness, and this strangling darkness, the breast of the strangling darkness is invaded by the ray of light. Struggling light, it actually tears away the strangling darkness, breast of the strangling darkness. So Sri Aurobindo quotes, this is the beginning. A thought is sown. That is a big term used by Sri Aurobindo. A thought is sown, a sense is born, a memory stirs, as if the soul long dead moved to live again. So, in beginning, a thought is sown, sense is born, again the memory stirs. With that, it is feeling as if the soul long dead is resuming, it is coming to live again. But aftermath, pure cycle is obliterated, as all the remnants of the past it has to remember, and it has to come into the new formation, new creation like this. All that has to be rebuilt, all that was destroyed must be rebuilt, destroyed. We know Balaram who destroyed the entire creation with his weapon, we know Langmala. So it was actually destroyed, and this water spread over night came out, that was the end of creation, we know in the Dwapara, at the end of the Yoga. So all that was destroyed must be rebuilt, old experiences labored out once more, and all can be done if the God touch is there. So again, we can find the forlorn indifference. We can arise inside there arises a hope. Inside the forlorn indifference, there arises a hope. There comes a miraculous gesture, and of course a nook of heaven. So there is a chance inside that darkness actually vanishes, it runs away with the invasion of the light, ray of light, it comes in, it invades. With that, actually this opening widens and the light pours down into the darkness, so that actually this darkness recedes like anything, and there is only the arrival of the dawn. Still in the course, dawn builds up aura of magnificent hues. Just imagine how this dawn is coming. Dawn stands in her glory of the age of the creation with her message from the iridescent unknown. So, promise of the immortal light to come. This is the beginning of the creation. It lights. So, light is, initially we have seen with the arrival of that light, arrived from the other side of boundlessness, and eye of deity peered to the dumb deeps. Arrived from the other side of boundlessness. Who came? Which came? An eye of deity peered through the deeps. So there is beauty, there is bliss, there is a greatness of the divine spirit. We can find the seed of splendor on a dense vast. So there appears again, appears the form of goddess. Very much, the form of goddess appears on the eternal light, opening the heavens. But actually, this earth goddess finds, earth feels her coming. Actually, everything is enchanted, everything is packed with beauty and bliss. But thing is that the deity withdraws because the earth is not at all prepared. The luminous smile of the deity sets aflame all the life that was still. All nature rises to the worship of the divinity. The trees, the hills, the wind, the skies, the air, all participate in the adoration. The earth is awakened to the light of the life. But actually, this divine apparatus, it finds impossible here to continue to stay on, because earth is not ready for its stay. It withdraws. The Max uses the very grand one, big beautiful sentence. that we know excess of beauty natural to God kind, not fit for the to stay here in this darkness, in this ambiguous presence. Again, we can find the awakening of the there are actually we can find the flow of life, trees, flowers, man, everybody is coming, and also Savitri, the arrival of Savitri, the advent of Savitri, we can see our Savitri to Yakov among the tribes. She lives among men who take to life with the customary jest for the pleasures and the rewards. Savitri did not participate in the small and, of course, unexpected, unneedful pleasures of this human play. She knows the mission and the labor. Like a mighty stranger, she was moving. She has come from the top. She has got a mission to fulfill, and she knows the idea. So, the godly powers, of course, embodied in her, and restless at their confinement, the human mood. The littleness of earthly life can support and will nigh reject. The wideness, the bliss, and the power that she had brought with her, the earth actually needs a shape of pleasure and tears to smile little bit, and of course to cry little bit, could not actually bear the immense beauty, immense load of the beauty and of course delight, so rejected the undying raptures boon. Instead of love, actually actually they rejected. Savitri feels actually the rapidities. Many things tried. She had lent to men her what she was, and she had all she had lent to men, hoping her greater being to implant, so that heaven might native grow on mortal soil. That also failed. And the Sri Aurobindo quotes here, but as the way of the world of ignorance with the sons of God who bring the saving light with them, the earth nature repels her light with the hate and anger. The crown, the cross they were payment for the crown they gave. They have come to save, they have come to guide, they have come to bring divine light into this ignorant world. But actually thing is that the human nature is completely repelling in nature. So the cross they are payment for the crown they gave, they actually they can't expect, they can't also welcome to these great saints and these great messengers, the vibhutis and the immortals. She lives in the world far from her natural felicity of heights, and equally away from the sorrows of the mortal life, both from the mortal life sorrows and, of course, the heights of felicity of the heights. She remains equally far and equally further from that life, and which she has come to redeem, because she knows she has a dream to fulfill. She has a mission to which she has come with a message and a mission, and she has got her vision. She has her own plan. She has to here. She is actually here actually to save this dumb helpless earth. So she is firm on that. Actually, for that, actually, she is not at all taking part in this small earthly embodiment and earthly happiness. With all this aloofness, her heart is open to all. Still, then she knows, because mother of all gods and godheads and all strengths. She is the intention is she binds mediatrix who binds creation to the supreme. This is the divine mother. She has come being wrapped up, leaving behind her immortality, eternity, and of course divinity. With all this aloofness, her heart is open to all. Inwardly, she identifies herself with nature. Inwardly, she has got a greater relation with the higher nature. Hers is the love of universal mother. That's what already we have quoted. Hers was the love of a universal mother. She sees in the ordeal that awaits her the projection of the evil that affected life at its roots. She knows the evil which is actually affecting the roots that she knows, and she is awaiting to uproot it, to bring solace and peace to the human suffering. Preparing to meet her fate, she is really getting ready to face the determinism, and that rules the material world. So she knows there is actually fixed front of fate. Man has known that Jat se hi dhruvam vitu, we are here born to actually the end is death, And this thing, death is still unconquered on earth, and time a field of suffering and pain. She knows she's actually waiting because there is a long term war between love and death. Every time the great love is actually getting meeting with defeat, and of course this death for the time being till now, it is actually getting the victory. For that, for the love of the victory, the mother of love, she has come with her vision to bring victory. Anyway, I will proceed on. In her early life, the being of Savitri is even that repose, sharing the forgetfulness and the somnolence of the earth. Forgetful, sharing the forgetfulness and the somnolence of the earth. In the beginning, earth has forgotten the previous birth, its new creation, yuga, and all everything. That forgetfulness and the somnolence of the earth, Savitri also shares. She knows neither grief nor care. Is totally devoid of all. Is above all care and grief. She grows up to comes on a faint remembrance, recalls what is a faint, dim. She feels the inanimate, intimate, and the dragging of her bosom. She can feel some ache, some pain, some suffering she can feel. She tries to trace its cause and can't do so because the mind is still not conscious enough. Mind is still not conscious enough, so that's what she is awaiting for. The faculties of the life and the senses are reluctant to work zestfully because they know simply they are sleeping in the inside that inertia, forgetfulness, somnolence. The world is actually inside the inconscience, yet ready or not yet ready. Again, what in time. However, she wakes up fully, entirely. She knows I have to come out. I have to make a big comeback against death, suffering, and all. This actually ignorance, this inconscient, this actually ignorance. It has to be rooted out and thrown out. So her real spirit comes back, memory surges up, and she finds herself in the center of the cosmic command among the three disputants: earth, love, and deep doom. These are the three disputants against with which he is actually trying to come forward to and come on combat. This is the great thing, and for this, with the mission, she has come because inside, she has to get awakened. She has to gather the force. She has to wage the war, and the victory she has to gain with that mission. And she has come down into this embodied earthly scenario. Looking into herself, she comes face to face with the spirit of pain. Because we know already, we have discussed pain, how death is still unconquered on earth, and time a field of suffering and pain. That's what it is. Yoga after yoga. So you can see this has been done, and this from time immemorial, time eternal, the earth is keeping suffering in its own way, and the mother has come. She has to turn the dice down. Already we know on the arrival, on the descent of Savitri, we know one shall descend and break the iron law, change nature's doom by the lone spirit's power. This is her mission. She has to come back. And with her arrival, the world is having facing a change. World can see the great change, of course. A seed shall be sown in the death's tremendous hour, number one. After the seed is sown, there a branch of heaven transplant to the mortal soil. And in the next step, what happens? Nature shall overleap her mortal step. In the usual unconscious steps, very slow steps, actually nature is moving. But with the descent of Savitri, the supramental incarnation, the divine mother, this nature shall overleap the mortal step, and there will be a big change. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. She knows, she wills, she has the, of course, the task of the divine in the breast. She has to fulfill. She knows. She is better aware of. Here, during the course, looking into herself, she comes face to face with the spirit of the pain, enthroned in her nature, claiming to obtain, claiming the oblation of sorrow and grief continuously, constantly. That is what you can see. Mother knows, divine knows, our Lord also knows the real problem because they are taking birth and descending from the higher hemisphere from the supramental level. They know the problem, and with the proper message and with the proper preparation, they have come down into this world of obscurity, world of danger, world of helplessness, and it is a dangerous world they have come down against during the course. The whole problem of the earth life becomes above alive in her. Whole problem of the earth life becomes alive in her. Alive, when it is written alive, means it was dead or asleep, something was there. But with arrival, with her descent, everything becomes alive before her. And she accepts the challenges, and her soul arises to confront time and death. So beautifully it has been quoted by Sri Aurobindo. We can feel towards the end how Sri Aurobindo gratefully and of course writes in his own terms. Her soul arose confronting time and fate. Immobile in herself, she gathered force. This was the day when Satyavan must die. Just imagine how great the sentence. Anyway, she gathered force, immobile in herself. This was the day when Satyavan must die. So this was the day when Satyavan must die. This was the symbol dawn. We have started from the dawn. Mora dawn built her aura of magnificent huge. We will start and go to the next phase later. Thank you, Bande Matram.